that Lane's list of accomplishments in life is bigger than life, really, and there's many. And so I've tried to glean down or shorten the amount of things that Lane has really accomplished into a small list. But it may not do it entire justice. But I'll start here. So Lane was born in Logan, Utah, and he grew up in Smithfield, Utah. He served a mission in Anaheim, California, and then he went to Utah State University, where he met his wife, Cheryl Pope, and married his wife. And he got a bachelor's in civil engineering from Utah State University. After that, he completed Air Force ROTC and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force. After he had done that, he went on and he was training as a pilot. He trained as a pilot for a year and received aerial achievement awards, and actually was a part of planning multiple pretty key and important missions as well while serving there. He also went and got 2 master's degrees. He got one in aeronautical science, as well as one in civil engineering. I met Lane, and we worked together at the NSA data center down at Point of the Mountain, and that was a $1.2 billion data center. The duration of the project was well over 4 years, and so that's where we went there. He was kind of up here, and I was like down here. So a pretty important guy. At that time, he was actually serving as the deputy area engineer. So really, really great accomplishments. Right now, Lane is actually working for the LES Church, and he'll go into a little bit of that, a little more of that as his PowerPoint unfolds. He also teaches in design and construction management as adjunct faculty at Weber State University as well. So if you'd join me in welcoming Lane.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for coming. They tell me that it's cold here. Now we lived in Grand Forks, North Dakota for 3.5 years, so I know what cold looks like. But they tell me it's cold here, but I am not seeing it. So thanks for coming on the one day of summer in Rexburg, Idaho. I appreciate that. That's a big sacrifice, I know that. So I do appreciate it. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I hope that this short time we have together, I can give you a little bit of perspective of what we're doing as far as the church meeting house design and construction in sub-Saharan Africa. Spend some time on that. This is not a lecture, although I have a whole bunch of PowerPoint slides. I'm not a huge fan of death by PowerPoint, but I know I can put you to sleep with these slides. But if you have a question, you don't have to hold your questions to the end, okay? Just raise your hand. Like Adam said, I teach at Weber State, and I hope you don't hold that against me. I know you at the Reno competition, you showed them how it goes. So they came back and they were licking their wounds a little bit. But I appreciate. No, it's great to teach. I love teaching. I taught at the United States Air Force Academy for 8 years in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering as well. Adam didn't mention that, but teaching is my love. I love teaching, and it's great to be here. Great to be with you great students, and I'm thankful for that. We're going to spend the next few minutes talking about meeting house design and construction in sub-Saharan Africa. What I mean by that is there are 2 DTA areas in Africa. Africa West and South Africa. The upper part of Africa is Middle East and Africa North area. I think what we ought to start doing is I probably ought to spend a few minutes talking to you about how the church is organized in the meeting house design and construction, how that all fits in, and how we get meeting houses built. If you spend a few minutes out, I think you'll see the frame of reference when we start talking about specific design and construction things in Africa as well. But I want to start out with a short video from Elder Bednar. And let me see. Just a second. Might need a tissue for this. If you've got tissues, pass them around. It makes me cry.
Africa is an enchanting and inspiring place. You see the plants and the animals. It's stunning and very diverse. You go from very highly industrialized, sophisticated communities to very rural. And the gospel of Jesus Christ gathers all kinds of people into the net. And so you find a remarkable diversity, but a common, strong faith among the Latter-day Saints here. This is a land, a people, and a place of great faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Africa is one of the most rapidly growing areas in the church. There are places in Africa where you have entire states that have grown and developed from a few members to branches to stakes with no assistance from missionaries. What you find here is a simplicity. They live uncluttered lives. We can be so busy, so occupied with so many things, that our focus, our attention can be diverted in lots of different directions. And an uncluttered life can be more significantly and singularly focused upon the Savior. I find that here.
This is a young church. Most of them are first generations. But really, the maturity of the church is to be found in the heart of people. And here I find a very mature church.
Brothers and sisters, good evening. What a blessing it is for us to be here with all of you. Now, tonight we need your help. How many of you are willing to help us?
Elder Bednar, he has a style that is endearing and warming. His style is really a way to get people engaged in the meeting and responding to their questions and concerns. You can just see from the people, it's an opening of their eyes to be able to ask an apostle a question.
You see the apostles, you see them in conference or videos, but they're kind of sometimes like out there, you can't really speak to them. So to have this experience of apostle right here in my backyard is something really amazing. It reminds us that it doesn't matter what country you're from, what you look like, we're all one in the gospel.
We might be out here in South Africa or in the Congo, wherever we are in the world. Heavenly Father knows us and He has His service to us, and it means a lot to me as a person. It means God knows me and loves me.
This is a place where many people live challenging, difficult lives. They don't have many of the temporal comforts and blessings that people in the Western world have. So you have a different view of the world when you come to Africa and see the growth of the church in this place. The future is bright. Brighter than I think we even have any idea. They have great life. Great hope because of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I witness that He lives. He directs the affairs of His church. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
When you watch that video, when I watch it, I see meeting houses. I hope you saw the great people that live there. What a great opportunity that is. Just to kind of get a feel for who's out here. How many of you, has anybody in here been to Africa, been on a mission to Africa? I know one person. You from Africa?
Yeah.
Where are you from? From Nigeria? Oh, fantastic. You get. If I say something wrong, make sure you straighten me out, okay? All right. It's a great, great country. I want to just spend. Let me just start here by saying, well. Okay. Sorry. Just going to hit four things. Talk about how big Africa really is, what's going on there, and how we get the work done in Africa. And then I want to spend some time talking about what is a meeting house. That's a common misconception, particularly those of you that have grown up here in the Mormon corridor on the Wasatch Front or other places like that. We have kind of a skewed idea of what a meeting house is. And then what are we building in Africa? Now, Africa's big. The first time I saw this chart here on the left, oh, wow, Africa's big. You know, when you look at a map of the world, the projection usually shows the United States is really big and Africa is like this big. But if the United States will fit in there, plus China, plus all these other countries. If you look at that, you look at the total population of the continent, about 1.2 billion people. If we had, does anybody know what the percentage of church members in the United States is? It's about 2%. 2% of the United States is church members. And how many people are members of the church in the United States? Nobody knows any of this. You don't spend time on Mormon Newsroom looking at the statistics charts all the time. You wait until the conference comes, don't you? And then you wait till they release statistical support. That's where I usually go get something to eat, right there. We have about 6.5 million, right? So we have, in the United States, we have about 2% penetration, if you want to call it that. If we had that same penetration in Africa, the church would be nearly double in its size. We have just barely scratched the surface. Now here, I'm gonna depart from doctrine. This is where you have to shut the camera off. Here's my thoughts on meeting houses and what we've been doing. Who went on a mission to South America? Lots of South American missionaries, right? Some of the older guys who went to South America. I believe that South America was our warm-up game for Africa. And Africa is our warm-up game for India. If we had 2% of India members of the church, it would double the size of the church. We are only getting warmed up. And my job at the church is to help, our team is to help figure out ways to build meeting houses around the world. It's an amazing problem. Just one little statistic here. Johannesburg's right down here where it says Japan, and across right up here, those are the two where our two area offices are. So it's further between those two area offices than it is between New York and Los Angeles. Just thought that was a bad thing. We get this country is huge. This continent, is huge. All right, so here's some statistics. We're just probably got over 5 million members of the church in Africa now. 29 missions. You can read the rest of that. 3 operating temples. We got four that are now starting construction. They're currently building the Kinshasa Temple in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then the Accra Temple is gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful temple. We have 525 meeting houses in Africa right now. And none of you know the answer to this question, so I don't know why I keep asking these questions about numbers, but anybody want to take a stab at how many meeting houses we have worldwide? Somebody make a guess, just to make me feel good like this. Oh, okay. You're letting your teacher tell? I can't believe it. Yeah, we have about 19,000 meeting houses around the world. About 500 some of them are in Africa. And we have 800 leases in Africa now. This is significant. This is a departure. Many of you haven't ever seen this before, but the current plan in Africa, because it is growing so rapidly, is that we build one meeting house, a stake center typically, and then we lease everything else. So every state gets one meeting house because it's growing so rapidly that there is no way to keep up. Let me show you. My wife will recognize now. These 4 pictures have something in common. As soon as you figure it out, let me know. Okay, does this guy look like? That's my son. He's in Uganda on his mission, and we get these pictures all the time. Now I went on a mission in Southern California. Anybody go on a mission to Europe? I had 2 kids go to Europe. Okay, probably count the number of people that were baptized as a result of some of your teachings. Fingers, right? Yeah, he gets a lot of opportunities, is what I'm saying. This is just a sampling of it. That's why my son's there. He's been there he gets home this summer, so it's great. But the Africa West area is experiencing about 13% growth. The Africa Southeast is just slightly smaller. There are some countries in Africa that have 33% growth every year. Now wait a minute. Think about that in terms of facilities. It's amazing what's going on there. Just this year, we're building 29 new buildings and doing 170 leases in sub-Saharan Africa. Let me show you. I need to, before we start talking about Africa, I need to give you a little idea of how we get the work done. And perhaps some of you are thinking, well, someday I'd like to work for the church. And so this is where you could ask that question, all right? Okay, so there are two sides of the church. There's the ecclesiastic side and the temporal side. Bishop Kosei, presiding bishop, takes care of the temporal side of the church. He's who I work for after about 7 or 8 layers of people, okay? On the other side, the area leadership in the United States and Canada is taken care of by the 7 presidents of the 70. Outside the U.S. and Canada, there are 15 areas called DTA areas, Director for Temporal Affairs areas. And so these gentlemen take care of the temporal affair, or excuse me, the ecclesiastic side, I'm sorry, in the United States and Canada. There are 14, the North Africa and Middle East are still not a fully developed area, but there are 15 DTA areas, and over those areas there is an area presidency, and each of those men are a member of the 70, okay, and one of the quorums of the 70. On the temporal side, there's another whole organization. So you're all familiar with the stake presidents, bishops, all that. If you haven't, then I'll probably go to church once in a while, but you get that, all right? On the other side, there is these 2 men, David Fishnick and Francis, and I have a hard time saying his last name, so I won't butcher it. But Francis and I are good friends. I've met him several times, been to visit him, and met with David Fishnick as well. They work for the presiding bishopric. They have in their area an area office, and they have a staff in that area office, okay? And these people are all paid church employees. That doesn't shock anybody that there are paid church employees. Oh, you know a couple of them. All right? That DTA has on his staff, now, okay, this is the part where you would sleep typically. So if you're going to get a nap in, this next like 4 or 5 minutes would be the perfect time, because I'm going to show you 2 org charts, okay? The DTA, Francis and David, they have a staff under them. This is typically what they have under them. All of those things now, all of those things are also at church headquarters in Salt Lake. That makes sense? So there's a headquarters function in Salt Lake that helps support this DTA out in the field that's directing temporal affairs out in the field. And he has all these people. I want to talk just about this guy right here, because this is the stuff we do, and that probably most of you are interested in right here. That person, the Area Physical Facilities Manager, also has a staff. Okay, second org chart. Just see if anybody's still awake. All right, I changed the color so it looked different. The APFM has 5 managers that work for him, okay? The area real estate manager, the area planning manager, the area architecture and engineering manager, an area construction manager, and an area operations and maintenance manager. Some of you are thinking, I'm going to be a project manager someday, a construction project manager or something to that. That's kind of what your degree's in, right? You're thinking that. Our project managers work for the area construction manager. All right, that makes sense? And every area has a number of them. I think, I don't have the exact number, I think there are 13 in Africa West and about that many in Africa Southeast. So there's probably 20 to 30 of them, project managers. They're a little different than a construction project manager. They serve as the owner's rep, and I'll talk about them in just a second. So is there any question? The reason I'm showing you this, and I took the time to show you this, was I want to make sure you understood how the church gets work done, gets the buildings built, okay? Does that make sense? Is there any questions on that before I move on? Yes?
Yeah, so from this chart, does this mean that all the work is like, all the contracts are like design build mostly, or?
That's a great question. Yeah, we do. Okay, in the United States and Canada, I'm going to give you both scenarios here, okay? United States and Canada, typically what we do is we acquire the land, so real estate acquires the property in 1 year. Let me back up for a second. We have this thing called the area plan, and so every year the DTA sits down with his staff and the area physical facilities manager, and they decide, okay, how many properties do we need to build, how many buildings we need to build, goes on like that. So in 1 year, in the United States and Canada, we buy those property under an area plan, and the funding, this is getting really boring, I just realized, but as soon as you say funding, the funding is against the area plan. So we're going to say, we're going to buy 5 properties this year, build 3 buildings, do these 4 renovations, and all that's in the area plan, and that's funded. The church funds that plan, okay? So the next year, we typically design, run it through a design cycle, and then the following year in the United States and Canada, we typically build. Outside the US and Canada, we do other contracting instruments, and design build is one of them, okay? Typically, our current, I'm going to get to this in a bit, but our current contracts all are, we bid them out, at least 3 bidders, and do lowest, not lowest responsive bidder, we do best value, okay? Make sense? Good question. Any other questions on any of this? Okay, so in Africa, just check and see the question. Africa, all there are in Africa is each office has an area architect and an assistant architect. That's the whole staff. And all of the design work is contracted out. Okay? They don't do any of it in-house. And then I told you about the project and construction managers. Okay, now, glad we got that over with. So, what is the responsibility of the area construction manager and the project managers? Again, I told you they take this work that the area architect does. So the area architect looks at what they need as far as meeting houses and contracts that out and gets meeting house designs. Now, those of you that have been at church a while and been around, you know that a lot of our meeting houses look the same, right? That's intentional. It's cheaper, okay? It's cheaper to replicate designs. If it weren't cheaper, Walmart would not do that, right? So Walmart goes in and they just put them down as fast as they can. We do something very similar because it's a little less expensive to do that. However, I'm going to talk to you about some innovations that we're seeing throughout the world. So that's what he does. They did a plan design, and then the project manager takes that design and hires a local consultant, and they do a site adapt for that. Does that make sense? They site adapt that design and locally adapt it for that area. Well, somebody'd like move your head. All right. Okay, that makes sense? Like that, and that project manager serves as the owner's representative on that project. Okay. In Africa, we also do something. We'll have what's called a clerk of the works. Anybody ever heard that term before? That's not a common U.S. term. That would be like an on-site quality control person hired by the church. Because sometimes we're not getting out of what we want out of the architect that was hired to do the quality assurance, right? And we're not getting good quality control out of the contractor. So contractor provides quality control, right? None of this is new. Some of you that are freshmen may not know this. So, contractor provides quality control. We hire the architect, an architecture firm, to do the quality assurance. And then the quality assessment is done by the project manager. Okay? That makes sense? See where that fits in? So it's a little different role. We call it project manager, but it's a little different role than what you would traditionally think of as a construction manager. So we don't, in the church, we do not, gotta make sure I don't make any blanket statements because we have done. We do not currently build any of our own meeting houses. We contract everything out, okay? Questions about that? Yeah.
So the project manager do what kind of quality control?
He does quality assurance.
Quality assurance.
Yeah, so it's, the contractor by contract is quality control. That's what we expect. We get varying levels of that, right? Based on contractor experience and what part of the world we're in. And then we hire a principal consultant to do the quality assurance. They're the ones that does the site adapt for the design. Okay? And then they're the ones that do the site visits. Project manager typically will have somewhere between 6 and 15 projects running at the same time. So he'll only visit typically a site once a month. But the local consultant will visit regularly, weekly, and if we need more than that, we'll hire somebody to do daily on-site quality control. All right? Depending on where it is. Yeah.
Do you ever see the church in the future doing it more in-house and contracting out less?
That's a great question, because we have done in the past, U.S. and Canada, I'm speaking U.S. and Canada, I have 2 hats on here, okay? In the U.S. and Canada, in the past, we have done a lot of in-house work. We realized that having people on staff doing in-house work is not as cost-effective as contracting it out. So we're moving more into contracting out the U.S. and Canada designs as well. We still have 2 of them that we keep and we maintain in-house, but the last one we did was contracted out.
Does it do lawsuits and things like that?
No, I think it's overhead. It's a monetary thing. And it's speed. the contractor can be much more responsive, put more resources against it for a shorter period of time. I mean, if you're paying everybody, then you've got a limited number of resources that you can work with. But if you hire it out, then they can throw a lot of resources at it over a short period of time and give you the product and then you're done. And we can't do that in the church. All right. So what is a meeting house? Okay. I need to. Does anybody have a piece of paper? I should have said this at the beginning. I'm sorry. If you got a piece of paper and a pencil or a writing stick, pull it out real quick. I want to ask you a question. I want you to draw something for me. Some of you are good at drawing. I hope. I want to be good at it. Okay, this is what I want you to do. If you're driving down the street, draw me a picture of what you are looking at that makes you think that this is a church meeting house. I'll have you hold it up. So you got like 2 minutes. Draw me a picture. You're driving down the street and you're saying, oh, that's a Mormon church. What is that you see that makes it a Mormon church? You got a piece of paper. Well, it's a prize. Well, I didn't bring any prizes. I got a mint. What is it? Is anybody doing it? I need at least like 2 people to do it. Oh, wait, we got a good one right there. He did it on his tablet. Perfect. You both do the same thing. I want to see at least one other person validate what I think you're going to write. Oh, we got some more. Let me give you a minute.
I'm trying to be a little careful here. He's not here, but Brother Jensen used to be an architect in the church. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad he's not here because he would correct me on all the stuff I'm saying wrong.
He can name every plan. So,
He'll watch the video later and send you a critique.
Yeah, Brother Jensen. All right, hold them up. Let's see. Let's see what you got. Oh, that's awesome. That kind of looks like a barn. No, that's good. Everybody drew the same thing. Wait a minute. That's all you needed right there. That was it. He drew 3 lines on a piece of paper and he wrote down what the church image is. This is what it is right there. If you see that shape anywhere in the world, you go, oh, there's a Mormon church. Now the Baptists do that shape as well. So you got to be careful. The thing that sets us apart then is this thing right here. So when I say church image, what I mean is our image is this pitched roof with a steeple on it, right? And that's logo right there. And then you know it's a church. Everything else we don't need as far as our image. And so the presiding bishopric owns that image. They hold that image. So until they tell us to change it, that's what we build. It's something that kind of looks like that. All right? And I'm going to show you a picture here of a meeting house in this one's in South Africa. Think that matches? Does it look like your meeting house down around the corner? Is it the one you went to as a kid?
certain parts.
Some parts of it, it's that image, right? It's this thing, that thing right there, whatever you want to call that. You architect wannabes can tell me what that is, because I'm not one. I practice it once in a while without a license, but I'm not one. Okay. Well, that's our church image, right? So image is important. The next thing I'm going to talk about, why are there so many rooms in a meeting house? What drives that? We have classes, right? What drives, what dictates the classes? Right, but where do we get that information from? Well, it's the lesson manuals. We're getting warmer. Somebody back there in the back wake up and tell me, there's like 2 of these books. Yeah, that's the ones I'm looking for. Handbook 1 and 2 tells us the church program is what we call it. And the church program drives the number of rooms in our meeting houses. Anybody thought about that before? The reason this looks like this is because we have guides in Handbook 1 and 2. This plan, none of you have ever seen it before because it was just released last week. It's the new Granger plan. It's to replace the heritage plans that you're all very familiar with. It's a new low-cost meeting house for the United States and Canada that will hold 300 people. But you'll notice that the one thing, there are 2 things required to get this celestial kingdom, and I don't know if you knew this. Wait, this is up the camera. There's 2 things. You have to put up and put it down.
You went there down the road, she said you can't go 15.
Exactly. No, I thought it was, you had to be put up and tear down 1 million chairs in your lifetime.
Okay, all right.
That's 1 million chairs. And the other thing is you have to have 1,000 hours of basketball. I mean, look at this. Chapel, basketball. Just saying. All right, here. We will save that discussion for another day because we don't want to start a new rumor. We have the scout room we're going today, so we got to stop. All right. Want to show you a little, let's see if I can get this to work. So, our meeting houses are designed to accommodate the church program. This is worth the price of admission right here. So this is what's called a 150-13 meeting house. The 150 means that it is designed to house 150 members in attendance. The 13 is the number of teaching areas. Okay, so this is a typical meeting house in South America. Some of you have seen this. Anybody been in one of these? Yeah. We put the steeple on the front, put the fixed roof on, it's a meeting house, right? If you take the steeple off, what is it? It's a school, right? Okay, so 9 o'clock in the morning, did you get up that early? 9 o'clock in the morning, some people show up. Come on, baby. Is it going? Oh, it's going. 9 o'clock in the morning, some people show up and they sit in sacrament meeting. You can see right here, this is the brother, a sister, a young man, and a boy, and a girl, and the boy, that little light blue circle, that'll be important in just a minute. Watch for the light blue circle. Okay? So we're all happily in sacrament meeting. And what happens at 9, at 10:15? They all get up, and they go into Sunday school, right? Except, exactly. And that's good. Almost finished with the young man. Just, all right, that's the whole thing up. Stop. Okay, right here. See right here? Watch the young women, they finally go to class. All right. 11 o'clock, what happens? We pause right there. Right now, this is what drives the size of our meeting houses. First, you have to have chapel seating 150 people. Second thing that drives it is second hour, you have to have a place for all the primary kids, right? A teaching area is defined as a room that will hold 6 people and a teacher and a table. That's how big it needs to be. And then it grows depending on how big the meeting house is. And so these teaching areas grow and shrink based upon the size of the meeting house. But during the second hour, that thing that drives the whole meeting house is this primary. But what happens at 11 o'clock? Everybody goes to priesthood meeting, right? Right here. Try to get this without screwing it up. Right here is the next time that it drives it. There are 4 spaces we need to accommodate people in that drive the size of our meeting house. First one is we have to have a place for the priesthood to have open exercises, right? Second one is we have to have a place for the Relief Society to meet that's big enough for all the Relief Society sisters. Third thing is we have to have a place for the young women to have open exercises that's big enough for all of them, right? And the fourth thing is we have to have a place for the primary, okay? Those 4 spaces drive the size of these rooms, these 4 rooms. So typically on a non-overlap situation, the priesthood will go into the chapel, but in an overlap situation, maybe go into an overflow. Some of you in a heritage building, the one without the stage in the back that's long and skinny. If you've been in that one, there's not a stage, but there's a divider in the back. You can have a priesthood open exercises back here. That's what drives the size of our meeting house, is that right there, are those 4 spaces, okay? It just goes and and then we go, at some point the young women go to class, the men go to class, the priests go to the bishop's office, and we end up like that. That's how meeting house size is determined. Now, you will need to shield your eyes on this next slide. This is the slide that everybody makes fun of. Now, when I was flying airplanes, this was back in the days when they, I don't have time for this story. No, we don't. Okay. when the nuclear weapon's gone off, originally, when that goes off, it makes you blind if you look at the flash. And so they issued the first air crew, when they started dropping bombs, an eye patch, so that you could put it over your eye, so when the blast went off, you'd save one eye, and then you could land the plane. That is not a lie. That's the truth. That was the plan. That was a good idea. I'm glad I didn't do that. But so you'll need an eye patch on this next slide, what I'm saying. So cover one eye, because this gets bad right here. This is the chart we use. This is the chart we use to figure out how big to build a meeting house. Okay? We can build a size 10 all the way up to a size 350 meeting house using this chart. I'm not going to spend any time on this other than to say that you have to hold sacrament meeting, you have to have 4 assembly teaching areas, and those are the numbers of people that have to fit in each of the teaching areas. And this is how many classrooms you have to have. So as the meeting house gets bigger, the rooms get bigger, and the number of teaching areas gets bigger. See how that works? So now you know everything there is to know about building meeting houses. I've given it all to you.
So do you take any account into, this ward may have a large population of young men, young women, or is it just?
That's a great question. So what we do is we take, this is the Australia, New Zealand, United States, and Canada chart. They have similar demographics. We take the demographics from the quarterly reports. For this is based on the 2016, and we look and cover the 90th percentile of all those wards. So this covers, there was enough space for 90% of the church units in these areas that would fit in a meeting house design with this chart. Make sense? Yeah.
Which is why they don't work
Yeah.
Do you also build in anticipation? Like you said, you have like one location that has 33%, increase-ish per year. So if you're building one there, by the time you finish the place, you've already increased, at least half of that, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So do you anticipate about a year or two ahead? So if you're looking at this many people, you calculate for like 50% more?
That's a great question. So the area planning manager with his area planning staff will look at that. First, the area presidency and the DTA will get together and they'll say, what is our target unit size? Okay? In the United States and Canada, the target unit size is 300. Outside the US and Canada, that's not the case. In Africa, Southeast, it's 170 or 220. So between 170 and about 220 is the target unit size. And so they'll build meeting houses to meet that capacity. And then we don't overbuild. We are a little more responsive than we are overbuilding. And this is a lesson we learned in South America. I'm going to run out of time here, so I'll go fast. In South America, we built meeting houses every 30 minutes down every road in every city. And they were 110s to 150s. And now, as the church has grown and matured in South America, we need 220 size buildings, but we have all these 110, 150 size buildings. We're trying not to repeat that in Africa. We're building the right size buildings. Leasing first, let the units grow, and then when they're ready, we'll build them and build them. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right, we got to get moving here. I'm sorry. Didn't think that would take that long. All right, so the other part of this, now you're going to say, what about? You've only covered this. It's got to have an image and it's got to have the right number of teachers. But we have all these other things we do, but all these other things are additional features that don't necessarily need to go into a meeting house. Okay? And so you'll see as I go through these, this now becomes, when I was on my vacation, picture time, okay? We'll do this for the next 20 minutes. You're free to, if you see something in any of these slides, any of these pictures, just raise your hand. I'll see if I can tell you what it is. But you'll notice that many of those features are not included, many of these additional features are not included in the meeting houses in Africa. Because, why? They're not needed there for some reason, or the area presidency has chosen not to provide those features, okay? So, not every meeting house has a baptismal plot, or not every meeting house might have a multi-purpose or a sports court. We don't necessarily need those. There's a lot of tradition. I don't know if you knew that. There's a lot of tradition in our church. Church ball, that's one of them.
Say the church can't be true if you don't have the best.
It can't be 1,000 hours, I told you already. Okay, so here we go. One of our initiatives that I've been working on for the last couple of years is to try to reduce the cost of meeting houses in Africa. This is what's happening. A few years ago, somebody in this room smart and remember, the two lines cross, the number of people and members of the church in the United States and Canada, and the number of people that are members of the church outside the US and Canada. Those two lines cross, right? Unfortunately, the tithing line isn't following that curve. Okay, that makes sense? So in Africa particularly, the assignment we've been working on is how can we provide worship space for people in Africa in a way that's simple and affordable and easy to maintain. How can we do that? And here's what we've been working on. This is the exciting part. We have about 15 minutes to get through this. This was the first project we started on. It's in Mamponse, Ghana. Great little meeting house. They had a different style. They came up with this style of meeting house. We call this the global plan. This is the chapel block. The bishop's office and the reciting room are here. This is the sorry, the pointer doesn't work right. Do it. This is the baptismal font, and then this is the classroom block down there. This is block building wood trusses. This is block building with steel trusses. Very simple, very straightforward. No tile on the floor. It's all they call it Sanskrit. It's polished concrete floors. Very, very nice little building. Here's some construction pictures. You can see the type of construction they typically use in this part of the world is this post and beam with block infill. So they pour posts, reinforced concrete posts, and then they fill it with unreinforced masonry and then tie it together across the top of the bridge beam. Okay, very common method to use it. They went through several different iterations on how we could reduce cost on this meeting house. Here's just a couple of more pictures. This is a great project, by the way. An amazing project. Yeah.
So what about building codes? How's this?
See, one of the things that was driving up cost in Ghana was that they were under the impression that in some cases that headquarters wanted them to follow U.S. and Canada building codes. Now, the building code on the Wasatch Front is designed against a level 4 earthquake, right? Just said that wrong. What's that? Well, anyway, some of the places are fine, but they don't have earthquakes there. So they're in like 1. So different, they lightened up the whole structure, thinned up the block, got rid of a bunch of reinforcement, and beautiful little church building. See how nice that is? Would you be able to go to church there, feel the spirit, worship? Yeah, go.
I imagine the sleek architecture of it is for the ventilation, since there's no AC.
Yeah, there's no AC in this building, so all those jalousie windows are to get as much airflow through there as we can. Good question. Notice the parking lot's not paved, it's just chips. Great project. There's the baptismal font. That place where he's standing right there is a teaching area. They teach outside, so they use that as a teaching area. There's the baptismal font. What's that?
I would enjoy church outside. Yeah.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not here, of course.
Oh, but yeah. Like winter.
All right. So the next one, we took the principles we learned there and we applied it to another meeting house in Ophirport. They're also in Ghana. Again, there's some significant construction challenges in Africa. One of them is you can't call a ready-mix company to get concrete. Okay, so all of the concrete. This one was a nicer system than some I saw. Some of them. One place I went to, it was Bethlehem. They had one concrete mixer running on a Briggs and Stratton engine, and they mixed all the concrete for that project in that mixer on site. All the concrete for this project was mixed in that mixer on site. There are cold joints everywhere, right? Because you're bringing it out one batch at a time, right? Some significant challenges, but they're getting it together and the buildings are turning out beautiful. There's the Ophirport building, and this building is like the crown jewel in our project. That thing came in at $800,000.
Holy wow.
Look at that, and the cost per square foot was $73 a square foot. We can't replicate that in the United States. And their building costs are similar to what you would see in a rural area in the United States. So this is a very, very good. This is the State Center. Here are a couple of other examples of some buildings they just built recently. That one came in at $600,000. That's a This one's a 150 now. This is 130. This is a 130. So 130 people can meet there. 2 wards, 130. Oh, it's 170. I'm sorry. That was 170. I'm confused. I wrote it up there, so I went through it up, and I did. But you don't get a basketball court for 7,300 square feet in Adidas. But they do have, what they do is, the chapel has removable seating. You saw what looks like those blue chairs, is typically what we've seen where they buy those. And that chapel serves as their cultural hall. So they have cultural events, and then they'll also have space outside to do that as well. Here's another great example. Now I'm just going to go through a few examples here quick, and I'll let you ask some more questions. But BYU-I and I don't speak this very well. Yeah. That's okay, Steve. We lease, we'll typically, as an initial idea, we'll lease some space, typically a large house. We'll take a few walls out. This is an example. We use this as the chapel space. Have a few offices. We built this originally, that global concept of like a little shed type of thing that I showed you on the last building. We built that over there. This ward is grown out of this space. So do we build them a new meeting house? Or there's another option. But if we take this space and we buy that next lot right next to us, okay, this would we buy this one right here. So here's the chart we use. We got 2 wards meeting, and one's got 145 in attendance, one's got 170 in attendance. Right now, this space is labeled as 70. It'll hold 70 people. You've got 2 wards, 148 and 170 meeting there. Now, how is that possible? It's amazing. People stand outside, look through the window. These people are faithful. Most of you would not put up with that. You would just go home, go to Winchell's, get you a donut, and go home. I don't know what you'd do, right? But they come, and they keep coming. This is amazing. We don't have wards in the United States that do that. 202 members, 170 of them are showing up to church every week. This is amazing. So what do we do? How do we accommodate these members? It's easy. We come up. Have you ever heard of compressed earth block? Anybody's heard of this? So we take the soil, mix it with 5 to 10% cement, just get it wet enough so it makes a ball with your hand. You put it in this machine right here. This one's operated by hand. You just crank it down to a really normal one and press it to the block. You stack them up, cover them with blue tarp, keep them wet for 28 days. They get up to about 1,100 PSI strength on the block, and you dry stack them like Legos and make a building out of it. Amazing technology. That's just dry stack, no mortar. You put a ridge beam around the top, do some levels over the windows, hold it together, and we build them. That was that building I showed you, that green roof building up there. We built them a chapel building, and now we can put 170 people on this site with an open air chapel. Great ideas. Here's another one. Another example. You can see what the local buildings look like. All we did, made a pavilion. Your stake pavilion at your stake center in your home costs more than that. And they've got a great place to meet. Look, somebody even built a nice great place. Here's another example. This one doesn't have a steeple. We don't typically put steeples on lease spaces. We lease this property. I don't know how that has constituted wire except to keep people out. I think the sign says visitor welcome. Those of you that have been on construction sites, you know exactly what this is, right? Lease a piece of property, pull in some trailers, put our meeting house sign on the side. Fantastic, right? Great meeting house, works great. Here's another example of some construction. This one is a great little project. We had them pilot in Mozambique. We had them pilot a prefabricated structure. So this is not a brick structure, well, it kind of looks like it. They really like coloring their meeting houses, and so they use that red brick as their modesty panel and pulpit. Turns out great. I mean, we're all used to walnut, oak, and cherry, right? But that works out great for me. I love that look. And they were able to make some significant cost savings. Here are a couple of construction pictures. So it's, these panels are all prefab. You've probably seen this construction, but steel studs, and then the panels just snap to the steel studs. Both the interior and exterior panels. Built a nice little steeple out front. Fantastic little building. Came in cheaper than if we would have done with the block post and beam construction. It's a great project in Madagascar that they're just finishing up. $62 a square foot. Can you believe that? I mean, these guys have come up with some amazing ways to save money during construction to meet the needs of their members within their area self-reliance goals. Every area around the world is trying to become self-reliant so that they don't rely on church headquarters to provide additional funds that they can't meet with their own money. Not that we're not willing to share, right? We are happy that each of us, when we pay our tithing, are helping build buildings all over the world. That is a fantastic opportunity. We're being blessed. Look at your own life. You are being blessed for the work that you're doing for these great saints. But they're working towards becoming self-reliant so that they are able to contribute to their own support. So this is a great program. So lots of stuff happening here. Here's a construction picture. This is probably not OSHA-approved scaffolding. But this brick, this is the price tag. This is the order. This is all locally made and locally procured brick, which is something we hadn't done in the past. Great project. Here's another one. This clinic was abandoned, and so we bought this clinic, and you can see what the clinic looked like. And we just put a chapel on it. Great project. Everybody's thinking outside the box. How can we find a way to provide space for the members that is not a traditional looking building? That, would you recognize that as an LDS church meeting house down the street? You certainly would, wouldn't you? Yeah, it's a great building. I have no idea why this is. This is a phenomenon I never been able to identify. But every picture they send me, there's a picture of the urinals. I do not know why. They're very proud of the urinals. I don't understand that at all. Every picture, I didn't include them all. Here's some other Zimbabwe. This is lease space, and then we go ahead and build a wood structure. Here's one of the lessons we learned. You know, you can't take it too far. Take it down too far. And so one of the things they're putting back in the buildings is this is just corrugated steel roof on top of wood trusses. It rains a lot there. So when it rains, think what that sounds like in there. If you cannot hear the speaker, then what's the point of going to church? You know, you start thinking about that, right? Why am I going to church? I can't hear anything. So we would go back and put in sound insulation in these buildings particularly. So, okay, we took it down a little too far, let's go back, and we're going to put some sound insulation in there so we can hear the speaker. Just a couple more. This is an amazing idea. They came up with this. They said, okay, we can't build there. We can't get property because of the tribe. We can't build. So what they did was they told somebody, if you build us a building, we will lease it for the next 10 years from you. And so they build a building to our specifications, and then it doesn't have steeple on it because we're leasing it. Typically, we don't put steeple on leased buildings. And they built this building, and we guarantee to lease it for 10 years. By that time, hopefully, there'll be a big ward there, and we can build them a nice building. Because one of the things we're finding, particularly in these remote villages, is there are no places to meet. There are no meeting houses. There's nothing we can even rent, lease, buy, beg, steal, nothing. There's nothing we can do to provide space, and so here's a great opportunity. So what's next? Yeah, this is the question slide. I'm done. So, where was that one? That one's in Nigeria. Does it look like Nigeria? Did it make you homesick?
Specifying exactly, is it architects being hired locally, or are you sending architects over from the States to design this?
We're not sending architects over to the States. We just provide support, so it's all local architects now doing the design in conjunction with the area office. The area office is providing the direction to the local architects, and then they're locally adapting. Any other questions? Yeah, this is the what next. You can read that. If you have any questions.
Purchasing buildings for the church, do you look at like plans that you can go and develop on, or is it like that one where you took the thing and then you try to retrofit it?
They're
To like new standards?
Let me make sure I understand your question. So we're doing all of that.
Yeah, so is there like a specific one you're going to more than?
No. So what the area planning manager and the area real estate manager and their team are doing is they're going into these places where the Democratic Republic of Congo is exploding right now. It's just going crazy. There's no way we can keep up. And they're in these villages where there's just huts. There's not like a community center we can go rent. There's nothing. There's just nothing. You go into town, there's nothing. And oh, by the way, what's concrete a bag? If you go down to Home Depot and buy, cement. Cement a bag. Cement is about what, $8 a bag here? $50 a bag to get it into the middle of the DRC. So wait a minute, now what are we going to do? We can't afford to build a building out of concrete, can we? There's no way to ship in material, so we got to figure out ways to locally adapt and build meeting houses that are locally adapted. And that's really the challenge that faces this next generation, is how can I come up with designs and ways to help provide meeting houses that are simple, affordable, and easy to maintain. Yes?
What about you have solar power and stuff like that? So what kinds of things are you providing for the power for these locations?
In the remote locations, we're going with solar and battery. It probably isn't even as good as your house. And all we're powering is the clerk computer and the internet, a way to get some kind of connectivity, and bishoprics, the bishop's lights, and the chapel lights. That's all we're powering. And the sound system. I'm sorry. The sound system for Sunday. And typically, the sound systems are portable. So you set them up on stanchions, and then you put them in the clerk's office. I'm on a tangent, but the clerk's offices in most of these places are built like vaults. They have they're solid concrete, steel door. So all the TVs and the sound system go in the clerk's office, and it's locked behind two locks during the. Yeah.
Does the church offer internships, or do they do it more like contract out to other companies?
That's a great question. I knew somebody would ask that question. We have had in the past a limited number of internships on the U.S. and Canada meeting house design side. As that's being drawn down a little bit, there's less of that opportunity. But if you want to get in contact with me, if you're interested, I'll try to put you in touch with somebody and see if there's an opportunity. You would have better luck if we tried to get you in with one of the design firms that were doing work for the church, and then you could do some church work without working for the church. Because most of what we're doing, okay, I can't say this, but headquarters work is kind of boring for an intern. Okay, it just kind of, what does the headquarters do? Three things: set and maintain the standards, provide resources like people, training, money, and then we go out and we make sure you're following the standards. That's what you do. Okay, so that's headquarters work. Someday you'll get there and you'll think you've arrived, and then you realize maybe it wasn't as exciting. It's much more fun to be right on top of the work. You guys got to go. I'll stay after. Thank you very much for your time. Thank
Thank you, Blaine and Cheryl, for coming out. If there's any questions come up, feel free to ask them. There's also a survey that should be coming out from Brother Jensen on a potluck that's happening this weekend. Next weekend. So make sure and fill out that survey. And any other announcements? Okay. Have a great day.
You have to have a Dilbert for every presentation. I don't know if it's required.